Alright guys, hey, it's Vegas. I'm back again. We're going to be doing a oil change on my 2017 Yamaha Grizzly. Last time we did the rear drive, now we're going to do the engine oil. Like I said before, I have it on my Titan stand. It's great for maintenance. Gives you about 3 feet off the ground. That way you're not lying on the ground trying to work. So I have it up there from the rear drive oil. Now we're going to go ahead and change the engine oil. I've already had it running for about 5-7 minutes, and so we'll get ready to change the oil. Alright, everything you're going to need is going to be a 14mm socket to get the oil plug off, a torque wrench to torque the engine oil drain bolt back into place, which is the manual calls 16 foot-pounds or 22 Newton meters. I'm going to be changing the filter, so I've already got a filter here. I buy these from Rocky Mountain. I get them dirt cheap, $2.99, $3.99, and I buy them a bunch of them at a time because I change my oil every time I ride it. Every time we go out, it comes back, gets new engine oil and fresh filter. So you need a torque wrench. Like I said, torque it back in place, and your engine oil. I'm using just the Yamaha Lube 10W40. They're multi-purpose oil. I just buy it in the big jugs and I measure it out in my ratio cup. Obviously you need a drain plug or a drain bucket for your oil. You need a nice cold Coors Light or your beer of your choice, and let's get to it. Alright, first step, we're going to remove the drain bolt. Let's empty out the oil. Like I said, I've already had it running for about 5 or 7 minutes. I'm going to use a 14mm socket and go ahead and remove the drain bolt. I don't know if I mentioned, I'm going to replace the crush washer on this too. I'll give you guys the information. I bought a kit from Rocky Mountain, a bunch of various washers. Alright, there it goes. Gonna go let that drain. Alright, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and do the oil filter. So the manual says if you're going to just replace the oil without replacing the oil filter, it calls for 2.11 quarts US. Because we're in the good old US of A. But I'm changing the oil with the filter, and it calls for 2.22 US quarts. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this finish draining, and we'll come back and pull out the oil filter. All right, we're down to a slow drip. So if you have a slow drip, you might want to go see a doctor. There's a reason why she was the only broad in the bar at closing time. All right, go ahead and get this plug back in, this drain bolt. Just gotta get it rolling. Get that started. All right, like I mentioned, I put a new crush washer on that. Move this out of the way. Alright, so like I mentioned, it's 16 foot-pounds. I just converted that since I only have a I converted that over into inch pounds. since that's what I had out. So it's 192 inch-pounds, and for those that don't know how to do that, just multiply your foot-pounds by 12, because there's 12 inches in a foot, and there you go. Alright, so like I said, 192 inch-pounds. Get this thing torqued down, we'll move on. There it is. Alright, we're all set here. Go ahead. Back off this torque, move around to the other side, and we'll pull off the oil filter. As you notice, I got all my skid plates off. When I was doing the rear drive, just cleaning it makes life a lot easier. Have everything off. Alright, next thing is we're going to remove the oil filter. Alright guys, going to pull it off. Like I said, being on the Titan stand, and having the skid plates off makes it easy. I'm going to go ahead and pull this oil filter off. Spread this. Hold on. Alright, there we go. I'm just gonna got it loose. Hope this doesn't block the view. I'm just gonna put the bucket right underneath it. Let it start running out. Okay. Let that drain. I'll be back. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pull the filter off. It's just back to a slow drip. Then I'll move that bucket out of the way and we'll clean up the mating surface. Put the new filter on. Okay. Alright, so I got my new filter while this is finishing it up. You hear people talking about loading the filter, pouring oil into the filter. And I'm all for it if the filter's going straight up. If this thing is riding in 90, whatever you pour in, it's going to pour out. So I just lube up the O-ring with good fresh oil, and then pour what oil I need into it when I fill it up. There's no need to try to pour oil into the filter and try to get it there. You're just going to pull some of that out. Just going to clean this up. Okay. Put the new filter on. What the fuck was that? New filter. Now the manual gives you a torque. I don't go off a torque for this. Get it screwed on tight, and then about a quarter of a turn and you're good to go. Alright, let me pull this out of the way. It's just a lot easier with your skid plates off. This oil, even through that hole, you get oil inside your skid plate, can't get it out, can't clean it up, just collects dirt, becomes a mess. This is just so much easier having everything off. It takes a couple of minutes to do it, to get everything pulled off, and then you can wipe everything down. Alright, like I said, I'm going to get my ratio cup. We're going to add 2.22 US quarts into it, and we should be done. Alright, let me get that measured out. We'll get to pouring. All right. So with having the panels off, it's even easier to fill this thing up. But like I said, I buy the gallon jugs of oil, and I just convert the quarts into cc's because it's easy for me to pour it out in my ratio cup. So that comes out to like 2,101 cc's. My ratio cup will do 500 cc's at a time. So we'll get this going. Make sure that you put your drain plug back in before you start filling it up, but we already put it back in and torqued it to spec. Just 16 foot-pounds, 192 inch-pounds. Alright, there's one. Here's two. Yeah, I put Yamalube in everything. Almost use all OEM products except for the oil filter, just because, like I said, I replace it. Change my oil after every ride. And I could get them so cheap in bulk through Rocky Mountain. There's two. Sorry guys, had no tunes and I misplaced my bear. So, everyday work, everyday pray, got family, friends, yeah, everybody sings. I wanna never quit. This is a really simple job. If you go buy beers, a beginner or a novice beer drinker, you're looking at 1 to 2 beers. Professional beer drinker, you're about 4 to 6. But it only takes, it's really quick. The longest thing that takes is waiting for the oil to drain out, or if you're working off the ground or having to take off the skid plates, just getting around that. But it's a very simple job. And it's very cheap to do. That's why I do it so often. There's 3. Here's the last full ratio cup. Republican voter. All right. 100 cc's and a hair. That's it. So what I'll do after this, I'll put the dipstick back in, start it up, let it run for a couple of minutes, turn it off. Give it a couple of minutes for the oil to settle, and then just check it, but it's going to be right on. Move that. Get my... Alright, let's get this back in. All right, let me start it up, let it run. I'll come back once it settles for a couple minutes. All right, guys, I'm back. So I started it up, let it run for a few minutes, turned it off. I actually drank another beer. Then after that, I checked the oil and it was perfect. So that's it for that. I went underneath it, just make sure that I have no leaks. Drain plug is no leaks. There's nothing leaking or seeping from the oil filter. So that's it for that. I'm going to do the front differentials maybe later on tonight or tomorrow, and then I'll put all the plastic back together from what I was doing before that. So all right, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Remember, have fun, ride safe, and live life, boys.